Hello, everyone, and welcome to this beautiful day in May. We are so happy coming to you from the Office for Diversity and Inclusion and offering this video interview with some of our leads of the Asian Resource Network in honor and celebration of Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. So we're happy to join you. My name is Shanna Dakin. I am the Director in the Office for Diversity and Inclusion at the Mount Sinai Health System. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Elizabeth Diaz.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Diaz, and I'm the Senior Project Coordinator within the Office for Diversity and Inclusion, and I work very closely with all of the employee resource groups. And now I'll pass it on to my fellow colleague, Freddie.
Hi, I'm Freddie Vargas. I work in Corporate Services Center in Real Estate Services, and I am Filipino American, half generation, born in the Philippines and immigrated as a child, growing up here in New York, New Jersey. And I'm now co-leading the Asian Resource Network at Corporate Services Center.
Okay, Nolan?
Hi, I'm Nolan Kigetsu. I'm a neuroradiologist. I'm based at Mount Sinai West, and I'm happy to be on this call.
Wonderful. And Keiko?
My name is Keiko Iwama. I am a Japanese. I was born and raised in Tokyo, and I moved to United States 15 years ago. I am currently working at Mount Sinai Morningside Hospital at ICU. I'm a bedside nurse, and also I am a lead of Asian Resource Network at Morningside. Some of you may know me sitting on the Chinese New Year's table at the lobby and every February.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thank you so much to our Asian Resource Network leads across the system for joining us today for this interview call. So we're going to ask you a series of questions, and I want to start off with Keiko. Can you describe to us, what does Asian Pacific American Heritage Month mean to you?
Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, it's really mean to me. And as I was born in Japan, and even I didn't know anything about Asian Pacific and American history. And when I came to United States, and I realized that so much contribution to the society and community that Asian Pacific American did it. And so going back to the history, 1843 and May 7, the first Japanese immigrants came into the United States. I could imagine how difficult and how much hardship they had it. And even when I moved to United States, even I didn't speak a word of English. And lifestyles, cultures are so different. And so I respect how much courage they had it to move to here, to put effort and be successful and hardship. And also 1860, Chinese immigrant came to the United States, and they contributed so much to the United States railroad system. And then afterwards, from different countries and Asians, majority of Asians, and coming to United States and contributed to the music, art, education, even sports, science. And I could see their contribution. And not just immigrants, they became a part of foundation of society and communities. And it's really encouraged me and to be able to follow their path. And also, they become an advocate for immigrant and minority. So it's also, much important for us and diversity and inclusion concept.
Hey, Keiko, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your thoughts about what this month means to you. I want to go to Freddie next and really ask you, as we start talking about history, and Keiko shared some of the key events that have happened in history, what comes to your mind when you think about Asian American and Pacific Islander history in the US specifically?
What comes to mind for me first is that, like the other histories of non-Europeans in the United States, we seesaw between being invisible and almost having a negligible impact in American society to being a target of derision and hate. And in between, there's the whole model minority concept and the bamboo ceiling that we have to work with or work against and break. And I also think that the history, knowing the history specifically, allows for the recognition of the individual's contributions and achievements in the many industries and parts of life and levels of life in this country, where uh, where our culture tends to focus more on a collective or community mindset versus individuals. To me, Americans are very individualistic, where in some families that's not a good thing. So I think knowing the history allows for a recognition of individuals' contributions in plural. And I also find that Asian American Pacific Islander history in the US reminds us of how different Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are from each other, and not just from our broader American and typically Eurocentric culture that we live in and work in. So there are so many differences between the Asian countries, between the Asian heritage, because not countries can be more political lines drawn by another another entity. And lastly, I think that the Asian Pacific American history in the US is also a nudge that our roots are much older than even the history of the US. That where we come from, or where our families come from, however many generations removed, our cultures and our heritage has a much longer history than the history of the US as a nation. So that's what comes to mind when I think of history here.
Sure. Thank you for sharing those thoughts. And so continuing with this trend of talking about history and impact that it has on the Asian American and Pacific Islander community, Nolan, I'd like to ask you, what figures stand out to you when you think about the history of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders?
Well, one person that stands out is Jeremy Lin. As you all know, when he was on the Knicks, he was probably the second Asian American on the Knicks. There was actually a Japanese guy way back when, but Jeremy Lin is the one most of us remember. And he faced a lot of obstacles in his path, and actually overt racism, which kind of we're seeing today. And other figures that stand out as we approach Memorial Day are the veterans or the soldiers that fought in World War II of the 442nd Battalion, 100th Infantry. They were of Japanese American descent. They were actually recruited from the internment camps, and they fought in the European theater. And as you may have seen on that PBS documentary, when one came home, he came home and went to an internment camp.
Sure, sure. Thank you for sharing those thoughts with us. And so as you start, you mentioned the theme of racism, and then, went into remembering those who fought in wars and were in internment camps. Why do you think it's important for us to discuss some of the darker times in Asian American and Pacific Islander history, along with the triumphs. And then along with that, what are the ways that we can help stand up to racism and xenophobia, particularly as it relates to this community and population?
Well, as Freddie said, you know, we have that so-called model minority myth, and you know, the Asians for some reason are you know, doing okay, except in times like these when we're not doing okay, and it draws attention to some of the racism, potential racism we see, where you may have heard of physicians in dealing with patients. The patients will just say outright racist things. One of our residents actually at West was crossing the street to the hospital, and she was spit on. A bicyclist just spit on her. So, you know, we have to support each other in the moment. You know, we can, if we hear a comment like Jeremy Lin would say, he would just say, you know, that's uncool, and just start a conversation and explain why you think it's uncool. And then we have to be allies to other groups. So while we're practicing supporting some of our Asian colleagues, it's a good practice. We can support other colleagues. In fact, I was on a group chat and somebody posted something that was essentially very offensive toward for persons with mental health issues, and I just called them out. And I don't know if they're going to like me, but doesn't matter. I mean, you just have to call things out and have a conversation. And fortunately, Mount Sinai is actually addressing this with addressing microaggressions, and I'm on a group that's going to give us words to almost a toolbox, words to use to enter into these uncomfortable situations. So kudos to Mount Sinai for doing that, and it will be useful for so many things.
Certainly, certainly, and definitely so much more important during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic and what we're facing and what the Asian American and Pacific Islander community is going through as a result. So thank you for bringing light to that. So, you know, in light of the discussion that we've had so far, I'd like to ask all of you, in what ways can we ensure that Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have a seat at the table, especially during discussions about diversity, equity, culture, and inclusion?
I can say something about that. Sure. So culturally, traditionally, Asians, and maybe it contributes to the model minority myth, we're just quiet, we do our work, and don't make a big deal of things, and maybe we'll hope to be noticed, and perhaps some people, some bosses like that, but I would say we have to break that stereotype and speak out when as needed. And then some of us who have gotten up to the higher levels of power or privilege, if you will, it's this basic concept: if you have to use whatever power or privilege you have to help those with less power and privilege. So you know, if you're kind of just like a student starting out, it's hard to speak up against people more senior than you. But as you gain seniority, it's really your responsibility to speak out for people with less power and privilege.
Right, right. Thank you for sharing. Freddie and Keiko, any thoughts on that?
And I think as much as it hasn't been easy to get Asian Resource Network active and fully engaged with our different at our different campuses, I think our efforts are still worth making to let people know that there is a community at the system or within the system, and that we are trying, and we're trying to figure out what we can do to give a safe space, to make a safe space for our community to come together and let us know what are the issues. And the employee resource groups, I think, are a great start, and they're certainly not closed. They're open to all employees. You don't have to be Asian to join to join the Asian Resource Network. You don't have to be Latino to join OLA. Anyone who is supportive of us and who's interested in learning. For me, education is a big thing, particularly for my family. And I've found that learning from each other, from our different coworkers, you don't necessarily meet the people you're working with. You wouldn't necessarily meet them in real life, in your regular home life, in your regular circles of family and friends. So while there could be some discomfort or some conflict, it's still an educational experience to be with different people. So I think the work of ODI and the initiatives that I've just recently learned about this spring with the Racism and Bias Initiative at the school, that they're looking to expand and grow into the rest of the health system, that kind of work, while it's sad that it's necessary, it's still good that it's happening, and that there are people willing to work for it and make things happen.
Yeah, certainly. And, I think the more that we do videos such as this and keep posting on social media and really getting the word out and sending notes out about Chats for Change and any of the initiatives that happen under the diversity, equity, and inclusion lens, especially due to the focus right now on the impact that COVID is having on communities of color and other marginalized populations, I think it becomes all the more important for us to get the word out and get people engaged in these sorts of initiatives. So thank you. So I want to move on to our final question for today. And again, I invite all of you to share your thoughts on this. But what are some of the special traditions that you have in your families, in your culture, that are honored, time-honored traditions that you follow every year and that are really close to your heart? I'll start with Keiko.
I am a Japanese, and so it's a culture. It's one of the things. It's very important. It's to respect elderly and the parents, and that's one of the things I really appreciate, the way that I was raised, and I still respect my parents and especially elderly and society, and also. We are very rule-oriented. So during this COVID pandemic, and the people in Japan, they follow rules. Everybody has mask, no matter where you go. And they follow all instructions, and no matter what government says. So this is kind of unique way that we actually prevented the pandemic of the COVID. But on the other hand, and because we are used to follow rules, and we are not many people, they are comfortable to going out of their box. Mm-hmm. Sorry, when you're students, they are sitting in the classroom and not asking any questions. And because they are taught in order to respect teacher, quiet and listen, just follow. But I came to the United States, the students are very, very active, asking questions. They want to seek answer until they really get it. And this interaction is very important. And one of the things I really wanted to create network within Asian Resource Network and employee within the system. We need to support each other to be a mentor for the next generation and on the Asian community. And because we tend to be quiet and just follow the rules, which is good, but also we'll be able to contribute more to the community and this healthcare system.
Okay, thank you. Nolan, any special traditions?
I'll pass on that one.
Sure. Freddie, any thoughts?
My thoughts, I think the biggest one is just there has to be food, and it has to be real food. And the events that we try to come up with, the event ideas that we try to come up with for the employee resource group, there just has to be a food budget, and the sharing of food and the thought that goes into feeding people, I think, is just really big for me and my family. Um, Raised Catholic, so of course Christmas is a really big celebration. But it's the food that draws people together. So that's what sticks out the most.
I think
And
that's
that you just need to have a sense of humor when it comes to dealing with life, especially in these times. But a sense of humor, while not necessarily a fatalistic sense of humor, but just a sense of humor to just keep going with and rolling with the punches, but still being well fed. Like, so,
Sounds good. I think that's something all of us could relate to in our cultures.
yeah.
Food and music.
Yes.
Yes, so true.
Music. Well, as we end our video call today, I just want to ask, are there any parting thoughts or words of encouragement or advice any of you would like to share to your fellow Asian American and Pacific Islander community, or to our Mount Sinai community in general?
Sure, why not? One last thought. I really like the term, some of you have heard the term cultural competency. I really like the term cultural humility. Because cultural competency implies that you can check off the box and I learned about somebody else's culture. And to me, it's a never ending journey. I learn about other Asian cultures just even on this call, and to have that openness to be willing to learn, that makes all the difference. So everyone stay safe and keep learning. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
And I would invite anyone to contact us, contact ODI, and let us know what you'd like to see happen in the system or in your workplace, because we are wanting to know what people are experiencing, not just during COVID-19, but in their everyday work life, and what else is impacting your life that we can help improve somehow. But we are looking for feedback and ideas, and we welcome them, welcome thoughts.
Wonderful. Keiko, any last thoughts?
Yes. So it's it's because I'm a minority, and that's why I'm just involving diversity inclusion. Of course, yes, but also I want everybody to join and to just share your thoughts, how we can improve community. And I think this is all about respect and recognize differences. But I think we should moving a little bit more forward, how we can create better community. So we just, I would everybody to sign up, whatever I'm sitting in the table, if I after COVID pandemic or not, but and just reach out us and to just share your thoughts.
Great, great. So thank you again to our ARN leads who have joined us today. There were other leads who wanted to join, but were unable to today. But we also, again, they are there for you to reach out to if you're interested in joining the Asian Resource Network or any of our employee resource groups. I want to echo Freddie's comment earlier that you can feel free to reach out to the Office for Diversity and Inclusion at diversity@mountsinai.org, and follow our social media pages on LinkedIn, Instagram, and on Yammer. Elizabeth, any closing thoughts?
No, thank you all to the Asian Resource Network, lead for joining us this evening. We thought that we had to do something for the month, and even though we're right almost at the end of May, we were able to get this done. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.